Welcome, everyone, to our legacy author interview with a champion for children, Mishkat Al Moumin, author of Learning Without Borders, Inclusion, Leadership, and Change. Mishkat, I always enjoy our conversations. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Walter, for having me. I truly enjoy connecting with you, with the worthy educator. I am so grateful to be here with you and with our audience.
Thank you. I feel the same. The article is very compelling. And from when I first started reading your blog post, your experience is just so pivotal in how we're all thinking about education and about society today. And so you start by talking about law school at Baghdad University. It actually broke my heart to read it and hear the way women were being treated. And I just kept cheering for you that you just toughed it out and hung in there and passed the test and wound up teaching yourself. Can you talk a little about that whole experience? When you look back now, does it seem like another world? Does it seem like yesterday? How do you incorporate it into your current life?
Thank you so much for that thoughtful question. My first day at the law school in Baghdad, Iraq, I started by signing a statement, a legal statement that said if you or your family say anything or do anything against our beloved leader, meaning Saddam Hussein at the time, you will all be executed. And that was the welcoming statement to that environment, to that community. Um, I wanted to study law in search of an answer to a burning question. What can people do to protect themselves from an oppressive government?
Yeah.
Even as a child, even before I joined the law school,
Mhm.
I was raised in fear because as a child, I was liable.
Yeah.
So many children in my neighborhood, they disappeared alongside their families just because the child said, well, when that man appeared in the TV, meaning Saddam Hussein,
Yeah.
my father would lower the volume.
Wow.
So, living under the Saddam Hussein regime was the equivalent of living under Hitler and being a Jew.
Understood.
Nevertheless, despite all of the fear, the oppression, I wanted to find an answer. Deep down, I refused to live in a world that oppressed human rights in such a way that, nodding or smiling became a crime.
Yeah.
The law was the only answer I could find, so I
Yeah.
decided to join the law school,
Yes.
which was a representation of the community at large. We were less than 10 women in the classroom, and the first, lecture, the professor enters and he doesn't greet the class. He looks at the first row of women upside down, and then he tells us, what are you women doing here? Go to the nursing school where you belong.
Wow.
The class, he laughed like it was some sort of a joke.
Right.
More than 50 male classmates laughed with him.
Yeah.
Um, Even when we studied law,
Mm.
sexual harassment was never a crime that we explored.
Wow.
When we talked about rape, it was, in a rush and in such a way that we are doing it because it's part of the curriculum and we
Right.
had to do it.
Right.
Some classes even skipped the topic altogether. But the thing that I remember from the class is
Hmm.
what the professor said.
Yes.
He said that at some point, the woman had to agree. Otherwise, rape will never happen.
Wow.
So all these atrocities kind of pushed me to the other side. How
Yeah.
can I help women?
Yes.
How can I become an educator? Each class I was taught, I said to myself, it can't be this. There must be another way of teaching.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, books were banned. So books were highly, highly under surveillance, and you cannot, get any book like you want to.
Right.
At some time, especially after the United Nations sanctions on Iraq after 1990,
Hmm.
some books, have been smuggled through the country. Some
Okay.
of them were from the opposition, some of them from, leaders in human rights, and I was able to read and circulate some of them despite all the fear and all the surveillance that we were under. I just
Yes.
wanted some sort of a hope, you know.
Yeah.
From there, I felt like classroom should be a place for hope, a
Yes.
place that is safe and at the same time brave. You want the classroom to be safe for students and teachers to discuss relevant topics
Hmm.
that resonate with their daily life. You also want to be courageous enough. You want the space to be courageous enough for you and your students to examine and forge a way forward. Otherwise, this cycle of oppression will
Hmm.
continue. And that's what brought me to education. That was the bridge that I walked on from an attorney representing women and trying to help them, either get divorce or seek custody of their children,
Hmm.
to an educator who wants to give students some hope and under an oppressive regime. And the same thoughts and ideas, I brought them with me here to the
Hmm.
US. I taught at George Mason, Johns Hopkins, the
Yes.
Defense Language Institute. It
Yes.
was the same brave and safe environment that I created. And, another venue that I created and proud of is the communication of success.
Yes.
It's a platform where I help, nonprofit leaders and educators find growth opportunities.
Yes.
So, if you are seeking financial growth, I will work with you in two ways. I can develop a recovery plan if
Hmm.
the organization is struggling.
Yeah.
I can also identify additional growth opportunities, which is the second pathway, such as writing grants or raising funds. In addition to these, two venues, I have my YouTube channel where I explore how can a person, an employee, communicate their success in the workplace, what type of challenges we face, and how to address them. And
Yes.
this came from my struggle, in advocating for myself, to be honest. Oftentimes, if you give me a cause, I will advocate for it. I will be strong, blunt, seeking every.
Yes. Yes.
But when it comes to me, I hesitate. I don't know how to talk about myself. So I started this journey and I said to myself, perhaps there are other people who don't know how to advocate for themselves.
Right.
So let's start a channel.
That's amazing. And
Thank you.
just so people who are watching the interview have access, the address to the communication of success is the languageofsuccess.net, all one word. And I'll include that when we post the interview so they can just click.
Thank you.
Absolutely. What are you seeing out there in terms of nonprofits and how they're launching, what the life cycles are of nonprofits, and where do they get in trouble where they need help to, do a recovery and get started again?
That's a very thoughtful question.
Yeah.
Honestly, I have seen two. downward paths, if you would like, the main two.
Hmm.
One, oftentimes, when an organization receives a large sum of donation,
Hmm.
they start spending.
Right.
And the first thing they think about is let's rent an office.
Right.
That's the biggest mistake that they can make because commercial rent is usually locked for 5 years, 3 years.
Hmm.
I haven't, rarely seen one for 1 year.
Right.
From there, it will be very difficult to sustain expenses. So the organization would start going down in red. They start incurring losses.
Hmm.
And it's very difficult to overcome these losses, especially if there is no monitoring, constant monitoring. And
Yeah.
before you know it, you file your taxes, you discover that you are 100K, 200Ks under.
Yeah.
And then to lift all of that up, it's not an easy process, even though there is a way forward.
Yeah.
The other main issue that I have seen is that nonprofits compete against each other. In a way, they
Yes.
behave more like corporates, but they
Yes.
are not corporates. That's the
No.
main issue.
Yeah.
So the competition brings them all down. So rather than, kind of forming an alliances or
Hmm.
some sort of a collaboration, so to speak, to go after big money,
Hmm.
they all compete against each other for pennies here and there.
Right.
By the end of the day, and I have seen a couple of situations, the funder would choose another path, a completely different path. And
Sure.
sometimes they would choose to fund an outsider
Hmm.
because that outsider would bring the large scale, the scalable impact that non-profit donors and funders and stakeholders will be
Hmm.
looking forward to achieve. They want that big scale, large impact. They don't want these, bits and pieces here and there.
No.
And again, I tried so many times to help them forge these alliances. Some of them are, accepting, receptive, they want to. Some of them know they feel like this is our way, this is what we are comfortable with.
Hmm.
So we are at kind of at a point where we have to choose. Do we want comfort or do we want a sustainable growth approach? That's the choice. And to be honest with you, I understand it's not an easy choice. It's a similar situation with our educators. So they look around, they see that the resources are scarce, things are changing rapidly, and they kind of feel very challenged to cope with the change.
Yes.
But if they would approach the change from the mindset of growth, a growth mindset,
Yes.
they will be able to find the resources. And again, that's why I'm here to help them to write a grant,
Yeah.
to develop some sort of a sustainable funding opportunity for their programs and form alliances. So a school can join forces with a local nonprofit and go after funding that's available through corporations, through local banks,
Yeah.
through a lot of companies that want to give back to the community.
Yes. It's fascinating as you're talking about it because in the last, I'll be broad and say 10 years, but it might not even be 10 years, I've been watching this tendency of younger educators because there aren't a lot of opportunities to move up in districts. There's only so many
Mm.
openings in administration. So there's been this, my perceived phenomenon where a lot of young educators have just left school districts and have started consulting and nonprofits and really becoming business people. They're no longer doing the business of education. They're now looking for money and looking for a sustainable business model, and they want to do good work. They have their education background, but I wonder with everything happening right now, everything shifting in the way education is being funded and oversight and all of that, what would you say to younger people who may have left the classroom when the climate was better and still want to do good work? Is it possible in the current climate with large sums of money suddenly being withheld from public education? Is consulting in trouble in the short term, or is it still possible to leave your district and just put a shingle out there and say, I'm a consultant and be successful right now?
To be honest with you, we have to consider case by case.
Okay.
But if your passion, and this is the main thing here, if
Hmm.
your passion, your devotion goes into consulting,
Hmm.
and we can measure that. So if you feel like you
Ah,
have a burning idea that
huh.
needs to go out there, there is
Yeah,
a gap that you are filling, then that's the key to success. Then
gotcha.
you can offer something that is truly meaningful and that is truly helping the community and, just like you said, do good by everyone. But
Yes,
if you're just approaching it from an easy, low-hanging fruit out there that I want to catch before someone else does,
right,
then honestly, that's a recipe for failure. Even if everything was, as ideal as we'd like it, that will
right.
still be a recipe for failure. The thing is, we always have to approach opportunities from a growth mindset,
Thank you.
meaning you have to answer what is the value that I'm bringing to this field? Am I
Yeah,
bringing something, or I'm just another, firm among 100 million firms that do
right,
the same work? So why
right.
someone should come to me?
Yes. It's fascinating because my last job working for someone else, that particular nonprofit, the head of the whole organization, really felt competitive with everyone.
Mm.
And it was a change in tone for us. It was new and it was, just a shift. And it seemed really counterproductive to me that why wouldn't you want to build alliances and across sectors have that kind of strength and influence instead of seeing everyone as a threat and
Hmm.
everyone, even internally, small components and chapters were seen as threats. And growth mindset sums it up perfectly because if you believe there's plenty of opportunity out there and there's plenty of ways to serve and make a difference, then the challenge is really on you to go out there and find those gaps and find those niches where the need is. If you just sit there and think you need to compete and outcompete other people, you're really just investing in that competition, not in the real work.
You don't need to make everyone feel smaller for
Thank you.
you to feel bigger.
Thank you.
And unfortunately, that mindset is still out there. You can
Hmm.
see it in so many organizations,
Yeah.
whether they are nonprofits or corporates or federal government. That mindset that someone is a threat, so my first objective is to get rid of them, is still
Hmm.
out there.
Yeah.
Regardless of how many trainings we are offering, how many opportunities, people talking about it, papers being wrote about it, somehow that mindset continues. And again, it goes back to education. You see, that's
Yes.
why there
Yes.
is this bridge that everyone needs to walk when it comes to education.
Yes.
In our classroom, if we encourage and foster competitiveness,
Hmm.
if we foster that there's only one great person, there's
Right.
only one great grade,
Yeah.
then we are encouraging, nourishing that concept. That's why people are so competitive, so, kind of self preservation. Like, if
Yes.
you
Yeah.
exist, I won't exist. There is the other side of the equation too. So,
Hmm.
for example, I have seen and experienced so many leaders who are trying to empower others. And
Yeah.
before they know it, that other person, the mentee, they stab them back in the heart. They try and they try to take their job or try to cast doubt on their leadership style. That can happen. And
Hmm.
still, all goes back to your classroom. That competitiveness is not um, encouraging the growth mindset. And it goes back to personalized learning. So if you don't
Yes.
meet the student where their needs are, you are not doing anybody any good. So imagine your classroom as follows. You have a bunch of t-shirts to give to the students,
Hmm.
but you only have one size.
Right.
And you give it to all of them. And
Yes.
you have a couple of students showing up in very tight, small shirt size. You have others showing up in shirts that are too big for them.
Yeah.
You didn't help them really,
No.
you see. On the other hand, when those students who received the right fit, so some
Yeah.
of the students did receive the right fit,
Yes.
everyone would look at them and say, why those got the right fit and
Right.
I didn't get that?
Right. Yes.
So all of these nuances play in our classroom, and it's up to us, the educators,
Hmm.
to personalize learning, to meet students where they are, to help them avoid this competitiveness mindset that does not do them any good. It also harms the society.
Yes.
You see, when you drive talent out of an organization, the organization loses. It loses impact, it loses growth.
Yep.
But when you harness talent, the organization grows.
Yes.
Also, when the mentees acknowledge that they don't need to outsmart or outgrow the mentor is
Yeah.
there to help, and it's their pride and joy to
Yes.
see someone flourishing,
Right.
you know, then we help both. We help the mentor and we help the mentee, and the organization grows. If you imagine all organizations are growing, then we definitely achieved a better community.
It's so true. And, as you're describing it, I'm thinking when you set up competition, you're setting up winners and losers, and you're doing it in a very arbitrary way. And having the honor of knowing you and knowing your background and where you've come from, where access to opportunities and resources and being treated with respect and fairness are really life and death experiences, existential questions. Having some arbitrary winning and losing competition in a classroom where everyone should have the same chance to learn and grow seems ridiculous. Why would we do that? It makes no sense.
I think because we inherited it.
Yes.
So, if you
Yes.
look across the board, even if, across countries throughout the
Yes.
globe,
Yeah.
education is the same. There's always an assignment, and
Yeah.
there's always a teacher who will grade the assignment. There
Yes.
are always tests, and you are expected to pass them. You are expected to pass them with flying colors.
Yes.
That's the summation of education, in
Yep.
addition to having curriculum and textbooks. That's it.
Right. Yeah.
So when the problem evolves, it evolves in countries and communities, alongside these lines, the same competitiveness, the same situation, probably with different colors, depending on the community and the background, the cultural background.
Yes.
But once you start changing that, once you start establishing an education system that caters to the community needs, then you will start seeing organic change, change
Yes.
that is not imposed, change that is not for the sake of change, but
Yes.
for the sake of growth. And I have to tell you that, I when I grew up in Iraq, there was nothing called nonprofit. This is
Right.
something that did not exist.
Yes.
But I felt the need. for it. I felt that this is a sector that should have exist.
Yeah.
Before the Hussein regime, kind of we had some sort of civil organizations. They were not up to the level of a nonprofit here
Hmm.
in the U.S. For
Hmm.
example, the donation would not have been tax exempt, and
Right.
oftentimes they would rely on membership
Okay.
or on performing some sort of an activity within the community, such as art or singing or theater,
Yeah.
to substitute for
Yeah.
income. But
Yep.
nevertheless, they existed and they
Hmm.
were independent and they really helped the community. When Saddam Hussein took power, of course, everything was terminated or became a government owned
Right.
nonprofit.
Right.
So all of that, made me think we do need that sector.
Yes.
And we definitely need to help it grow. We definitely need to invest in it.
Yes.
And, that's why I started, working in nonprofits. I established my own. I
Yep.
helped other nonprofits and will continue to do that. We
Yes.
have we have a need that cannot be filled by corporate.
No.
It also cannot be filled by government. So it
No.
must be somebody else
Yes.
to provide that type of service. And
Amen.
oftentimes they do provide education as well.
Hmm.
So they do have programs, they do have training, and they help educators and teachers accomplish their academic goals.
It's so true. And you're such an inspiration. You're so comfortable in your skin and you tell your story with such passion that it seems so natural. But please know you're such an inspiration.
Thank you
And
so much.
you bring so much to these conversations. And for everyone out there, Mishkat is very much involved in our work envisioning the transformation of education. She's been heavily involved in our Roadmap 2030 work that we just started in June. And we are like partners in crime wanting to go ahead forward and get this done. And I've loved her writing so much that we cross-posted a number of her blog posts on the Worthy Educator blog, and with her permission and kindness. So we're just grateful for your voice and for your thought leadership and for everything you're bringing to current education, Mishkat.
It's mutual. Honestly, I found that my voice was amplified through the Worthy Educator.
Oh yeah,
You provide a unique platform. To be honest, I haven't seen something like it
yeah,
for educators to bring forth their stories, their lived experiences, to share and inspire
yes,
other educators. And it's not limited to the US, it's all around the world.
exactly.
So that is really the true inspiration here. Um, I cannot imagine a world without the worthy educator. So
All
thank
right.
you so much for everything you are doing.
Well, here's the great things ahead. There's certainly a lot of opportunities to make a difference, and it's such an honor to have you along for the journey.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.